You're listening to the Paragon Radio Show on CamGlen Radio with me, Lewis Shaw.
CamGlen Radio, 107.9 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
So this is Shuffle with Shaw on CamGlen Radio 107.9 FM. And I'm absolutely delighted this week to have a very special guest. And this is someone who really inspired me from a young age, probably about 5, to get into radio myself. He's the king of many games: Snorkel Bingo, Thingamajiggy, Play Your Stars Right, amongst many others, Chats with the Gabby Cabby. It's Colin McArdle. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Lewis. Lovely to meet you. Yeah, very well. Bit unusual. It's not in Radio Land. It's just over the wire in Zoom land, as we call it now. But
so, thanks for coming on. And it'd be good to get to know a bit more about your experiences and how I can move forward, because I'm just getting started in this. So
good to hear. Just rattling off some of the games that we used to play. You know, it was good, happy days. Yeah, some of the stuff was a bit bonkers that we used to get away with. Play Your Stars Right, etc. And Snorkel Bingo was amazing. But it's interesting to say, you know, you're kind of starting off in your radio career, and really when I was on the radio, I was kind of doing what you're doing now and emulating my radio heroes. So I started off, maybe my earliest memory of radios being 13 years old, so maybe a wee bit older than yourself. And I went to West Sound as what they called a junior DJ. So they used to have like on a Saturday, they invite kids in to be a DJ or be a co-host with the main host. So I went in on a Saturday morning, and it was a guy called Nicky Docherty. And I think Nicky moved on to do sort of radio elsewhere, Radio Scotland and stuff later on. But I was 13, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and I went on and I was a junior DJ at West Sound at the age of 13. And my first memories of radio, as you probably don't even remember, Radio Luxembourg. Have you ever heard of Radio Luxembourg?
No, I haven't. No.
So back 70s, late. So I was born in 73. So late 70s, early 80s. Getting pop music as we get now. Kids now can stream music and get Spotify and get music very, very easily. Back in them days, it was very difficult to actually get pop music on the radio. Radios 1 and Radio 2, believe it or not, used to play classical music. And really strange, slow songs and stuff that wasn't my bag. So late at night, I used to listen to a station called Radio Luxembourg under my bedclothes. So my mum would send me to my bed. You know, you get school in the morning, and I'd go to my bed at 10 o'clock at night, and I'd get the radio and I'd listen under the bed covers to this fuzzy station, which was on it was on long wave. So the music used to fade in and out. So you'd get like half a song, and then you'd get all the screeching and squealing and funny noises with the transmitter, and then the song would come back. But they had like really cool DJs like a guy called Bob Stewart had an American accent. Bob Stewart on 252, which is Radio Luxembourg. And then that was my earliest memory of radio. And there was a guy called Jeff Graham, used to be on West Sound. You ever heard of him?
I've heard the name, yeah. I have heard the name.
Jeff was my hero in radio. So Jeff, when he was on West Sound, was a million miles an hour. He used to have backing beds, and he had games, just what I had, similar kind of thing. He had wacky games. He had listeners on air. He used to do a thing called the Fascinating Fast Fact File, which was way before its time. It's actually now on Radio 2, and it's Steve Wright's Factoids. You know how you ever heard Steve Wright doing the Factoid?
Yeah, I have heard of it a couple of times, yeah.
He'll come on with half a dozen kind of wacky facts out there. You know, did you know that people in the space station sleep standing up? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was bang, 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 fact after fact after fact. And he'd have wacky jingles, and he'd have like Kenny Everett was one of his jingles. He'd all these kind of national guys making jingles for him, Tommy Vance with a big deep voice and stuff. And Jeff was just way ahead of his time. Anyway, Jeff turned out going on to Luxembourg. So I heard him from West Sound. He went on to Radio Luxembourg. He went on to Capital Radio in London. And he also went on to another station, Atlantic 252, that a lot of people listened to back in the sort of late 80s. So Jeff was a hero. So all I did when I eventually ended up on West Sound was copy people like, you know, Jeff Graham, Steve Wright, these kind of people. I just wanted to be like them. They were the guys that had Tiger Tim on Clyde back in the day.
Yeah.
These are all people that I'd pick bits of. Everything in radio is stolen. There's a tip for you. There's nothing in radio that's new. Everything was borrowed. Steve Wright, who's a national hero on Radio 2, he used to go to America all the time and listen to American radio stations before the days of the internet, and he would go over there on his holidays and nick bits of American radio stations and then come back and put them on. And obviously things like the factoid, that's been heard somewhere else. That's
something, that I want to do. I enjoyed the wacky games. And where did you get the inspiration for the games that you played? So we were talking just before the interview about Snorkel Bingo.
Yeah.
Thingamajiggy was one that I played a couple of times, actually.
Thingamajiggy, again, as I say, everything's nicked. That was on another radio station. We heard it and we thought it was a good format, had a different name. So we just nicked it and we stole it. But yeah, Snorkel Bingo, some of the stuff I did come up with myself. Snorkel Bingo, I don't know where that came from. I think Bingo was huge at the time. I don't know why I ever did Snorkel Bingo. I just thought it was funny. It was. With a snorkel on the radio. I mean, when would you ever hear somebody with a snorkel? I mean, you just wouldn't get away with it nowadays. No. The guy with the snorkel, by the way, you probably don't know this, was a guy called Stuart Rogers. Have you ever heard of Stuart Rogers?
I have. I think I was looking at an old forum about West Sound a while ago.
Yeah.
And it seemed to be that at one point Stuart Rogers was on at the same time as you on medium wave.
So what happened with Snorkel Bingo was Stuart was on medium wave 7 till 10. I was on FM 7 till 10. So Stuart would go on, and the first 20 minutes of Stuart's show would be like 4 or 5 songs back to back. So while they were playing on automation on the computer, Stuart would jump across to my studio and put the snorkel on, and we'd Snorkel Bingo live across the FM. And then I can't even remember the format of Snorkel Bingo, but it was before Twitter and all these things. So people used to text in their numbers for the game, and we had an actual live bingo machine. So we had a wee ball machine, and we used to spin it, and the numbers that were getting announced were actually genuinely live random bingo numbers. And Stuart would have this snorkel on, and he would be doing the and I'd do the legs 11.
You need to get Stuart. I need to get Stuart. I need to plug Stuart from somewhere and get him to do it again sometime, because I would love to.
Stuart used to help me out, and he was the man in the snorkel.
It was a brilliant show. I mean, I remember actually when you used to be on in the evening. My family had a nightmare getting me to go to bed. So they're like, right, bedtime. No, 10 o'clock. No, 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I'd insist on staying up because there was, as I say, we had that, and we had the big hard one. That was the other one. The big hard question.
Boogie had that on Radio 4, so I nicked that off a Radio 4 morning at 6 in the morning. We would do it at night. So I mean, as I say, everything's borrowed, spun round and rehashed. There's nothing in radio that hasn't really been done before.
Do you remember what the first song was you ever played on air?
Yeah, you do. It's a really Radio Anorak thing. You never forget. And the first song I ever played on air was Corona Rhythm of the Night.
Oh, let's play it, shall we?
Yeah, if you've got it there, stick it on. As I said, it was. But this was the first ever song that I played on West Sound, as it was then.
Yeah. Okay, let's play it.
This is the rhythm of the night. The night. Oh yeah. The rhythm of the night. This is the rhythm of my life. My life. Oh yeah. The rhythm of my life. Sunshine
absolutely fantastic song, Corona, and it was maybe not the best song to play in the current climate, but it was a good song for you. Do you remember what your first ever slot was?
I don't know what you're saying about the Corona thing. Yes, unfortunately named. The story behind that was, so I did hospital radio for a year.
Yeah.
And I went to send a demo to West Sound. I was doing my hospital radio show and I was quite happy doing that. I did it for a year. So it was kind of, just a hobby on a Monday night. I'd have a hospital radio show. Long story short, there was a chap who got a job on West Sound, or I heard was getting a job on West Sound. And I went in one Monday night and they said, do you know Mr. So-and-so, whatever his name is, he's starting on West Sound next week. And I thought, what? And I thought, he's rubbish. He is rubbish. How's he getting a job on West Sound? So I'd never thought of sending a demo to a radio station in my life. So I remember taping that Monday night show on cassette, jumping in my car and driving down to Ayr. And I put it through the letterbox at West Sound on the Thursday night. And I remember getting a phone call on the Friday, and it was the programme director. And he phoned me and he said, I've got your tape. I've listened to it this morning. He said, how would you like to come down and meet us? And I said, yeah. He said, could you come down today? And I said, yeah, I could come down at work. So it was like Friday night. I met the chap. And then he said, how would you like to have a radio show tomorrow night at 10 o'clock? And I was like, wow. Yeah, I'd love it. It was professional radio. It was on air, being heard in Ayrshire. And that was me. So I started at 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. There was two chaps came in, showed me how to work the desk, and basically said, that's how you work the desk. You're live at 10 o'clock and we're away to the pub. Enjoy. And they left me in charge of the whole radio station, lock, stock, barrel. And they showed, and that was my first song, Corona Rhythm of the Night.
How was the first show for you? Do you remember the show?
Bag in airs. As I say, these two fellas just came in, showed me how to work the desk, and then went to the pub. So I was shaking like a leaf. And that was me. That was my first show. So it was a Saturday night. It was 10 to 1 a.m. And it was a late show on a Saturday. That was the first ever song. It was on the playlist. I didn't choose it.
Right.
It was out at the time, 1995. That would have been. So yeah, Corona would have been out then.
Wow, that's really, really amazing. Yep. And as I say, it's a great song, I have to say.
Yeah, it's a dance. I'm a huge dance music fan. So obviously I had my dance shows on West Sound through the years, and I've been a club DJ. I won the Club DJ of the Year award in 1994 in Scotland. So that was something else that I did. So I did that. The song The Nightcrawlers, Push the Feeling On.
Yes.
And that was the song that everybody wanted to play at the time. And I remember that was away from radio. That was 1994. And you had to do, it was actually, shows you a sign of the times, it was actually sponsored by a cigarette company. It was nothing to do with music. It was the Kensington Club DJ of the Year. So there was guys from Ayrshire, there was guys from Glasgow, Edinburgh, Aberdeen, all over. And you had to do, part of it was a mock radio show at a hotel in Livingston. And the judging panel was people from the cigarette company, a music journalist, and Tom Wilson that was on Radio 4 at the time.
Yes.
Dance DJ.
Yes.
So Tom and these judges were on the other side of the screen, and they had to listen to my 20-minute mock radio show. And because I'd done hospital radio, I knew how to back time into the news, and I knew how to introduce travel bulletins, and I knew how to introduce records. So you had to do this mock radio show, and we did that in the afternoon. And I remember playing whatever song it was and then back timing into the news and saying, blah, 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 that's it from me. The news is coming up next. It's 12 o'clock, hitting the news jingle. And I remember putting the headphones down, and the guy that was standing next to me in the studio said, just don't mess it up in the club tonight. Because I was the only that nailed the radio part, because I'd been on the radio and done hospital radio for a year.
Yeah.
So the rest of the guys were all club DJs, but they'd never done radio, and they were crashing into the jingles and playing the records at the wrong speeds and stuff, and making it to the radio side. So when we got to the nightclub at night, you had to draw straws for the most popular songs of the day. And the most popular song in the clubs at that time was Nightcrawlers, Push the Feeling On. And I drew the So it was a kind of win-win. I'd nailed the radio bit during the day, and then at night I got to play the most popular club song of the time. I drew the long straw, the short straw, and I got Nightcrawlers in my playlist. So when you played that in the club, the crowd went wild. So, so my club side of it worked really well, and ended up I won it. So I went to Los Angeles with Tom Wilson. That was my prize. Got a holiday, and we went to Los Angeles, a trip with Tom Wilson kind of chaperoning me. So I'll never forget that. Tom was an absolute hero, and again, somebody that I would go out my way to listen to back in the day in his Radio 4th dance shows. Again, there was no networking back in those days, so I used to jump in the car and drive through to Edinburgh just to listen to Tom and what he was playing. He had all the latest dance tunes and all the stuff from Europe and all the white labels and stuff. So Tom was a radio hero of mine. So
what should we play next? Should we have Tom Wilson, or should we have Push the Feeling On? What should we play next?
I think we'll have a bit of Tom Wilson. Just a Tom Wilson techno cat, because Tom was a hero.
He was. Brilliant, man. Right, here we go then. Tom Wilson. It reminds me of when I remember your dance shows, it started off as a Friday night and then it moved to a Saturday. I think, it moved to a Saturday. I used to love those shows, the stuff. And you introduced me to songs that I'd never heard when you went old school.
Yeah.
You know, I'd never heard of likes of TTF, Q-Tex, QFX.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of any of this stuff.
Alongside so it was early 90s, and obviously, as I say, I'd won the Scottish DJ competition of the year. So on the back of that, I was doing a lot of clubs in Ayrshire, some Glasgow clubs and stuff. So I was club DJing when those songs were all out. So I've got them all in vinyl. I've got your QFX, QTEX, all that. I've still got, I've got boxes and boxes and boxes of vinyl records. Because the record companies used to send you stuff. So you would have all this stuff white label. And back in the day, the early 90s, you had clubs like Fubar, I think, which was in Stirling. You had the Metro in Saltcoats, which was the club that everybody knew down here. You had Pavilion, Air Pavilion was, that was the Hangar 13. They used to have raves in the Prestwick Airport, would you believe, as well, in the foyer, Prestwick Airport.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So it was really, for Scotland, Scottish dance music, it was in its heyday then. It was absolutely huge, and a lot of talented people, Ultrasonic and all these bands, QFX, they all came out of that scene.
Yeah, and I remember the old honk of the horn. Remember that? And the
people honk horn, flash lights, and all the stuff that is completely illegal now when you're driving a car. But yeah, we had people.
The Techno Buddy song.
We used to get people in Arran on a clear night. We'd get them listening in, and they'd flash their lights back across to people in Ardrossan, who would be flashing the lights back across the sea. So we'd have a disco with car headlights going on to the beat of the song on air. So yeah, the power of radio back in the day, it was great. But as I say, all very illegal now. Honking your horn and flashing your lights for no reason, it's a big no-no. Because
I remember, I don't know if you remember a few years ago when there was the fireworks fiasco in Oban, where the whole display went off in seconds.
Right.
And I remember, I think it was Frenchie that did the travel in those days. And I remember you, instead of playing the normal travel feed, you said, right, we're going to play this over the firework display in Oban and see if you can do the travel in the time it takes the whole firework display to be finished.
I remember that. Well, it was over in like 5 seconds or something. All the fireworks went off in a winner. It was like that display, and it was just like bang, 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 bang. That was it.
There you go. Hey, all over. Thank you.
One that I did early days with Frenchie, I got the sound effect of a hot air balloon. I played it down. It was all very technical, but I played it down the phone, and it sounded like, so I took a phone. We were in the studio, and I took the feed off a phone, so I made it sound as if we were on the phone.
Yeah.
And I had the sound effect of a hot air balloon, so it was me and Frenchie in a hot air balloon flying over Ayrshire. Got to the end of it. At the end of the record, it would be me and Frenchie on the phone, and then I'd press the button on the CD sound effect machine with the sound of a hot air balloon, and we'd be, we're over here just now, look out the window, give us a wave. And people text into the radio station to say they could see us, and it was an April Fool's. Was in the studio. People, I mean, it's like, I don't know what they saw, but it wasn't us in a hot air balloon. But things like that, yeah. But as I say, I didn't take it seriously.
What was it like for you when you got offered weekday breakfast? Because you talk about having your job. What was it like when you were offered weekday breakfast? Did you think twice about it, or did you just, I'll have that?
For anybody to take a breakfast show on a pretty major station, which West Sound is and still is, was and still is, but to be offered breakfast, is an absolute honour. It's a bit of a poison chalice because there's a lot of responsibility comes with it. There's a lot of more analysis of figures, who's listening, when they're listening.
Yeah.
Things like you get a producer, you get somebody coming up with ideas for you, whereas all the early stuff we've talked about, the snorkel bingo and the wacky stuff, was all me. I enjoyed it, but it's probably why I left in the end up as well, because it is a bit of a poison chalice.
Is this something a bit wacky? The biggest mistake you've made on air? Have you ever had a massive mishap, or have you ever had something go horribly wrong on air before?
No, I never. But I'll tell you a funny story that springs to mind. Yeah. We were doing a live feed from Kilmarnock Football Club. We were doing like live football. It was a Saturday afternoon show, and I think I was depping for somebody.
Yeah.
The commentator guy. We were West Sound got the license to do the live Kilmarnock games, and the commentator guy was doing the commentary, but he was having like a dry run. So he was, Paul Wright passes to so-and-so, blah, 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 to Raymond Gummery, blah, blah, blah. Oh, that was... And then I won't tell you what he said, but it was bleep, bleep, bleep and bleep. And then I just looked at him, and he kind of looked at me and shrugged his shoulders, and as if, what's wrong? I said, we're live, we are on here. He thought he was having a dry run, we practice. but actually went out live on air. So yes, swearing on air happened not too often, fortunately, but that springs to mind.
I remember you playing a song once, and I can't remember what it was. It was on your dance show, and I remember you were worried because there was 2 versions of the song.
Yeah.
There was a version for a nightclub, and then there was a version for the radio. If you'd played the wrong version, that would have been, well, yeah. I don't know. Would you have been out?
Could have been. I could have been. There's been a couple of close moments. There's one way back, not in breakfast, but way back. Again, as I said to you earlier, everything in radio's nicked, stolen.
Yeah.
I listened to a clip of an American radio station, and the guy did a thing called Red Light Lottery. So this game was on. This would be in the early 90s. It would be on the nighttime show, Sparky and Knight Rider days, and the aim of the game was to win money by sitting at a traffic light and not moving. So again, highly illegal nowadays. You'd go to the jail just for encouraging this behaviour. Never mind being the person in the car. I'd heard it in this radio station in America, this clip, and I replicated it. And basically, it was a listener, and she was in her car, and she was sitting at a set of traffic lights in the air, and the traffic light was red. And I said, right, put your window down, and when the traffic light turns to green, don't move. Yeah. Don't move the car. And for every honk of a horn that we hear, we'll give you £10. So the traffic light was at red. And she says, right, that's me. The traffic light's at red. And she puts the window down. This is live on air. Puts the window down. And she says, that's him, went to green. So I started the timer. So I've got the plinky plonk music on, a bit doom, 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 doom. And then you just hear the one horn going beep. And then you heard another horn going beep, beep. Then you heard another horn going beep, beep, beep. And I'm like that. £10, £20, £30. You've won £30. And then all these horns started going. I ended up having to give her like 120 quid or something, but it was called Red Light Lottery. Did it once, never again. Got an absolute dressing down for doing it on air.
Yeah.
And it was actually held up years later. My then manager of the radio station went to an Ofcom meeting, and it was about things not to do in radio, and he actually played the clip of my show.
Red Light Lottery. That sounds... obviously, you would not get away with anything like that. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic, and the stories we've heard, absolutely brilliant. And I hope you've enjoyed it.
Really enjoyed it, Lewis, and really enjoyed the fact that you've been inspired listening to my show, because it's taken me right back. As I say, it's been great giving you the old stories of the old days, because actually, you know, listening to your enthusiasm for radio, you know, it's the same as myself, my younger self, and it's made me think of, you know, people that inspired me, and listening to Radio Luxembourg and early days of West Sound with, you know, Jeff Graham and Jackie Brambles and all these people that I listened to who were married, you know. So yeah, it's brought it all back. It's been really, really enjoyable, really enjoyable.
For me, it was you, and see, I was paradoxical. I always listened to the Ayrshire version rather than the Dumfries one more.
Yeah.
So for me, it was mostly you for the most part, but it was you. It was Billy Reid.
Yeah.
It was Alan Shaw, who actually happens to have exactly the same name as my uncle.
Right.
So it was those guys that really got me into it all. But I'd say it was mostly you because of the wacky games. I just wish I could hear Red Light Lottery.
You'll never hear that. That's filed on an MP3 or a CD somewhere. Never to light of day.
Thank you very much for coming on, and hopefully speak to you again soon sometime. Good
luck with your career, and as I say, just stick with it. Be yourself.
Absolutely.
That's my only advice I would say, is just be yourself and enjoy it. And if you're enjoying it, as you said earlier in the interview, you know, if you're enjoying it, then your listeners are enjoying it. It comes across.
Thank you very much, and we'll finish off with some. We'll finish off with one more song. What shall we finish with?
We'll go with "Tell Me Something Good."
Okay. I'll let you. I tell you what. You introduce this. Go back to your old days. Let's let you introduce the last song. Come on.
It's Ewan McVicker, obviously. Yeah. The reason I've chose this, he's from Ayr, so he's from my hometown. He's a young man who, like yourself, is on the up and up in the early part of his career. He's now a huge club DJ and doing really, really well for himself. And I'm just dead proud of him coming from Ayr. And I actually, when my club DJ roots, really, really like this song. So as I say, a young guy like yourself that's on the up and up. So I wish you luck, I wish him luck. And here is Ewan McVicker and Tell Me Something Good.
And don't touch a finger on that dial because we're going from one Lewis to another. Lewis Smith is coming up next with his show, so stay tuned.
Hey, this is Lewis. Welcome to the Jam On.
CamGlen Radio, 107.9 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
This is Pumped Up Kiss by Fuzzy People on CamGlen Radio 107.9. I picked this song because it's my favourite song. Welcome to the party. Do your theme dance. Hey Glasgow, let's just knock on Heaven's door. That was Knock on Heaven's Door by Bob Dylan. I played that one for my mum. It's her favourite song. That's the end of the show. Go home. You go home and keep safe. I've been Lewis Smith. Good night.
Hey guys, Colin here, and I'm here with Craig Ingram from the Stride programme in Paragon Stride. Craig, how are you doing today?
I'm very good. How are you, Colin?
I'm very well, thank you so much. And today I'm here to interview you about your new album, Elements, in which we're going to be playing one of your songs very soon. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, feeling very excited to know what you think.
I heard one of your songs, and I have to say I'm very impressed with your songs. Literally, the name title Elements just gives it an amazing inspiration to it.
Thank you very much.
This is Fire from the album Elements.
temperature rises, a forest alight, all creatures around seep into the night. The flames appear larger and bright at the sky, the heat is unbearable and singes all by. The soil simmers, boils, chaos as it burns, all melts in its path, changing the landscape, blackened trees all around, scatter the land, they are all torched, in a wasteland they stand. Raging on end, engulfing the atmosphere, the heat wave prevails and shuts off the air. The colour it shines, as bright as the stars, red, orange, yellow, with speckles of white. It scorches the land, everything black and charred, fireballs fall and decimate the ground. The retreating fire leaves the earth, and ash extinguish the flames, and dying all out. Nothing is saved, and the devastation is profound.
And that was Fire by Craig. I have to say, I am very impressed with that song. It is intense because it's full of fire, it's full of heat. His album could go so further, and I cannot wait to see what more he's got going on in the future with his albums.
CamGlen Radio, 107.9 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
So, Craig, the first question I want to ask you is, when did you start creating the album?
Well, first of all, I recorded a separate song that's not on the album, and then after that, I started a song called Fire, which was the first song that I did on the album. That was back in August 2019. I then showed it to Ninny. He's involved in the head leader of Paragon. Once I showed it to him, I gained a mentor, and then it snowballed from there. And I eventually wrote more and more songs, and then I actually wanted to turn it into an album after I'd done everything. So it was actually quite a long process, but I'm really glad that I did it just now.
Where did the idea of Elements start? Where did it come from originally?
I had some thoughts and ideas of what I was doing with the front cover of the album. So I thought I want to do something unique and different. Mainly one of the things that I wanted to do was 8 songs. And I thought, what's a good title to do with 8 songs? So I thought of the word Elements. And the reason I did that was because I use each song is represented by a letter. So on my album, the E, the capital E at the start, it's represented the song Fire, and so on and so forth. So you've got fire, oceans, thunder, space, earthquake, time, desert, snow, and they're all portrayed by each letter individually. And so that's where I came up with the idea. So initially I designed it, and then I sent it over to one of my friends and asked him to create it. And then I obviously started focusing on the writing side of it.
So obviously you've got your elements. You've got earth, air, fire, water, ice. If you had to pick any of those elements whatsoever, that if you had to think of an element that you could pick, not from your album, but any other element that you would put in your album, what would it be?
Probably one of the elements, one of the songs I was going to do was Rain. I initially thought about doing that at the end, or for the end song, but then I thought it clashes with the song Oceans. Both would be kind of similar, so I wanted to go with something other than Rain. And also, when I was creating the album cover, I wanted to try and get a pattern going for the different pictures, and I thought the rain picture would just be too like the ocean picture, so I didn't really want to go with that. I wanted something that would stand out better, so that was the idea behind it. But if I was to pick any, I would have picked Rain.
I would have picked Rain as well. And speaking of rain and ocean, here's your next song, Ocean.
This desert of blue, mysterious and beautiful. The surface appears calm, but erupts without care. The waves blister and surge, become larger and fiercer, with no sign to clear. The wind shrieks and howls, disturbing the silence. It keeps getting louder. The chaos is endless, with no end in sight. Under the waves, all is pleasant and tranquil compared to the surface, like a war zone in despair. The deep, open wilderness, so vast and expansive, all life in the deep are spared and compare. The wind dies down, the waves ease off all calms and stops. The remote landscape resumes order, yet again the disaster is over. Normal practice restored.
Then that was Ocean. I actually like this song because this actually sends chills inside me, because I actually feel like I'm in the ocean, because I can feel the cold. I can literally feel like the freezing cold in the water. So thank you for sharing for that, Craig.
CamGlen Radio 107.9 FM. Your voice, your music, your station.
I would like to know, even like you say that Ninian helped you out with this, but who else helped you out with this album?
So when Ninian approached me with it and to say that I could join the Horizon groups, he set me up with a mentor called Thomas. Thomas helped me gave me the ideas for the topics I was to write about. And also I went to a studio once every 2 weeks. It was almost like homework. He would give me a topic and I would write about it. And then we would come back to his studio and start developing the song. And then after each one, he would then give me another task, another title to go and write about. When we were doing that, I was also agreeing with him, this sounds like a good title. I'm just going to go and write about it, and then 2 weeks later we'd come back.
A lot of people would say that when they write songs or listen to music that they would want to write themselves, they say it comes from what's inside their hearts. I would like to know, what was it saying inside your heart about elements?
Well, like I said before, I wanted to do something completely different. I thought it came quite naturally to me, just thinking about writing something along those lines. Because the other thing is, in Stride, the group that I'm involved in, I started to write the title word in Stride, that's what we do, and then write lots of words that I associate with the title word, and then just went from there. But I was quite interested it was more of a challenge, really, to try and think of what to write about these different subjects.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from there, Craig, of it being a challenge. Both me and Craig are part of the Stride scheme. It is a challenge to write music, but I can see where you've got your inspiration from. And talking about songwriting, one of Craig's other songs that we're about to listen to right now, we're actually going to the darkest side of the world, where you would see the dark side of the moon, and that is space. Let's have a listen.
This dark and lonely world, where satellites and comets roam, no concept of time, nor length of day, stars glisten and gleam, natural light will shine through, despite all the dark. It finds a path through a planet's maker system, include Pluto, Saturn and Neptune. No life inhabits these lands, or so it is said to be, is unique in their own way. From gas giants to ice worlds, each come in different sizes. From the largest of Jupiter to the smallest of Mercury, the brightest of all is the sun, a giant ball of light that dwarfs all in the night. Its heat is beyond comprehension, brings heat to a different dimension. Life on Earth depends on its rays, but you cannot look upon its gaze. This vast and empty wilderness, so much beauty to behold, in this natural world where dark and light collide.
And that was Space by Craig Ingram. That was Out of This World.
So let's talk about Stride for a second, because there's some of the songs that have elements involved in Stride, such as Out of the Rain, which was an idea that you came up with. When it came to Out of the Rain, when you were listening to that song, did that give you any ideas?
It gave me some inspiration to think of that song's probably more suited to oceans. I kind of got some ideas from that, some other ways that that Stride put songs together, the ideas that they have.
Okay, so let's talk another thing about Stride. What do you do? What do you do in Stride, Craig?
So I play the electric guitar in Stride. So I've been with Stride probably about 4 years now. We started we were doing work at the studios, but because of COVID, we had to do work. We had to go online, so we did that for a bit. But we're able to use the facilities again, which I enjoy, and we also do some live concerts as well.
That's incredible. But thank you so much for that, Craig. You've been a big sport for this. Thank you so much for this.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for interviewing me.
Anytime.
So this is the Paragon Radio Show, but that's the very end of the show. Thanks to you guys for listening in and just being a part of it all. And you guys can catch up with Craig's album and listen to the rest of his songs on Spotify, on Apple Music. Go and check it out, because that would give Craig the biggest support, and it will inspire him to do more and more and more of these albums. But again, thank you so much for listening, guys, and stay tuned for our next show, which is going to be a very special Christmas radio show. We'll see you guys then. Enjoy yourselves.